Well, I haven't at times. I can do it. But hello, welcome to pregame on floor. Pregame, David Locke along with Ron Boone. Ron Boone, the fighter. The man with the black eye. Who'd you punch out?
I punched myself.
You could have come up with a good story. I'm not going to make you tell the real story.
I punched myself, yeah. So now it's okay. I still look all right.
We'll see if you still get your usual admiration from everybody. We'll flip the camera around so you can watch the Jazz warm up. Thanks very much for tuning in. We can actually, I don't know how it works entirely on YouTube. If you throw us a comment, I think we can take your questions on this pregame the same way we do on Facebook Live postgame. So if you want to try that, you're more than welcome to. But it's a good opportunity to talk about the best fights you ever got into, because we don't get to fights anymore in the league. So what's the best on-floor basketball fight you ever got into, ABA or NBA?
David, you want me to tell ABA?
All right, ABA stories. I don't know.
Why you want me to talk about fights?
Because you got a black eye.
That's because I fell.
I know, but that would be more fun.
You want me to blame it on a fight, huh?
Yeah, I mean, we'll just pretend like it's a good...
I got in a fight with you in the back of the plane, and you accidentally elbowed me and...
One too many analytics.
Yeah.
But what, seriously, like in the old days, you guys used to fight.
Well, you know, it wasn't, yes, there was quite a few fights back in the day. The game was physical. And so naturally, as physical as the games were back then, yes, you're going to get into some scuffles, and most of the time the fights were just broken up and you continue to play. If there was a fine, it wasn't much of a fine. But, you know, obviously things have changed, and it should have, rightfully so, that the way the game is played right now, it keeps a lot of the competition out of the ballgame.
Got our first question coming in from Michael. What is the mood in the locker room about the Dante Exum injury?
You know, we haven't heard much about that. I mean, they're probably keeping it pretty quiet, and I know that the players feel that, okay, it's a setback, you know, and start looking around at themselves now. Do I have to play a different position? Yet we saw this morning, Alec Burks got a chance to run the point guard a little bit. They did sign another point guard here out of Arizona State here this afternoon.
Never see him, I don't think.
We probably won't never see him. But
I think you have 4 players that you're able to put into the D League on assignment, and I think he'll be one of those 4.
Okay, well, the mood I don't think has changed much right now, because you know there's so much to learn and so much to prepare for to get the start of the season. Don't forget, there's only 5 preseason games this year. I've always thought that 5 preseason games was probably enough. Especially if you're a team like Cleveland and Golden State, you know, they have a very good basketball team, so why play as many preseason games? But, you know, sometimes like the Jazz, trying to put together a whole new team and somewhat pick up the offense a little bit more, you just get to the point where you just don't really, it's a lot of work, in other words.
All right, so Tyler Kenny just asked, is there any way to watch the game tonight? Why? Just listen to us on the radio.
That's right.
I got to tell you, it's like insulting.
You get that mental picture by listening to us that you can't.
To some extent, I find it insulting that everybody always wants to know why it's not on television.
You got to be able to visualize this. I mean, you should be able to lay down in the bed or lay down in your easy chair, and close your eyes, and you have this mental picture of what's going on out there on the floor listening to us.
Oh my gosh, we're live. You've already done your one interview with me tonight. Yeah, you checking on his black eye? Have you seen his black eye, Q? Look at him. He's got a shiner. Yeah, I saw the other guy. Quin Snyder stopping by there for a second. Raul Neto is expected to play tonight, and I think he'll play the backup point guard minutes for Dante Exum, and then they're going to have to figure out how they're using AB and Cephalosha. I asked Quinn about this in the Coaches Show, and by the way, the Coaches Show, as well as our radio play-by-play, is available on a new podcast feed called Utah Jazz Radio. You can go grab that at any point you'd like to. And download both the Coaches Shows as well as our full radio broadcast after games. But I talked to him about Donovan Mitchell and whether or not he was reluctant to put the burden on him of being the backup point guard, and it was clear that the answer to that is yes, that they would rather not overdo it for him right now. Maybe at some point this season he becomes that guy, but right now they're probably trying to avoid that.
Well, you know, he's a rookie. He has a lot to learn. You can tell that he has so much talent. He's offensively, defensively. I like his toughness. And so I think you got to just bring a guy like that along slow. Now, the Jazz do have the luxury of having Neto. And now they have Alec Burks. Now, that's a good problem to have. Some teams, you lose a point guard like that, now they're scrambling, having to go and try to find someone that's not in the league. And trying to find someone that's a quality player this time of year is kind of difficult.
So, in regards to kind of what I think they're going to do a little bit is have Mitchell just play the regular two-guard position and play his game and be comfortable, and then have AB and Cephalosha kind of play the three depending on what the team needs in its rotations on given nights and what Joe Ingles needs, or have AB supplement a little bit of Alec Burks, and maybe there are then times in the game where you can let Mitchell go and play the one, or you're letting Joe Ingles play with him, and so he has less of the burden. But I don't think it's going to be his initial position is to replace Ricky Rubio when he comes in games.
I totally agree with that. Totally agree with that. Just, you know, we watched him in summer league, very offensive minded. You know, he's good off the ball, good with the basketball in his hands. I just think you have to let a guy like that get adjusted to the league and not bring him in, you know, especially when you got a quality point guard in front of him. You know, just let him play his game, and then you can figure it out later.
Tom says it's hard waiting up till 3 a.m. here in Portugal to not see Exum, who seemed very good in the preseason. Welcome to Tom from Portugal. You can send in your questions. We're taking them along the way, by the way, as well now, as we are able to do this on the Facebook feed of this. Also, we put this up at lockedonjazz.net for you after each and every game, or after each of our shows. So in case you don't catch us live, you can watch the replay of this show. We often have neat people stop by and visit us. And Myers Drysdale and I were just talking. Tim Kempton, some others that come by along the way, but they are not available tonight. Ann is doing this. Which, by the way, there is a stream of this game going out on PhoenixSuns.com site, but you should listen to the radio instead. We don't want you to take that away. You mentioned how few preseason games there are. Jazz are not playing Rudy Gobert tonight to give him rest so he doesn't play back-to-back. How do you think that these teams are going to be ready for the opening of the season this year?
That's what I was saying. I'm all for 5 games. But if you think about a team like the Jazz, who's got a lot of new players, is 5 games enough? You would think, no, they need a few more preseason games to get ready for that first game. But then you look at the Golden State Warriors and Cleveland and all those teams that's been together for so long. You know, maybe 3 games is too many. You know, but 5 games I think is just about enough. They just have to. I think you just have to deal with it.
Question just came in from Australia. So bummed about Exum. Any chance he signs a Curry-type extension? I don't know what he does on his extension. He has a player option for next year, which is worth a lot of money. It's about $9 million, I think, or so, or maybe not quite that much. Maybe it's $7 million with a cap hold of $9 million. The only thing that the Jazz would be willing to do. So there's 2 games here. You sign him to a big number contract, and then suddenly you lose your cap space for next year. It's why trying to sign Rodney Hood to a contract is going to be almost impossible, because Hood's cap hold is so small next year that if you sign him now, you're giving 12. You know, if you sign him to a $12 million contract, even something that's favorable to the team, you're giving up $10 million of cap space next year. So now in the case of Dante, his cap hold's a little bigger. A 2-year deal at a lower number because of the injury, and then that gives him maybe there's an opportunity there. I don't know. Probably not the 4-year deal that Steph signed.
Well, if they sign, say hypothetically, if you try to sign him a 2-year, maybe that first year was for less money. Depending on how he comes back, and how he can come back strong, that second year might be worth more to catch up or something like that. I can't imagine it, and it's too bad. I really feel sorry for Dante. I thought he was ready to really having a very good year. Last year, after missing the year before, was a developmental year for him. He showed he was ready. He came in this year ready to play, and then he gets hurt again. But, you know, you just like to see a guy like that sometimes be rewarded, but, you know, a lot of times it just doesn't work out that way.
All right, let's flip it around here for a section. This is Josh Jackson. He is the number 4 pick of the NBA draft.
He's starting tonight.
And he will start from all year. He had 8 boards against us the other day. I was talking to some people around here, including this guy right there, Mehmet Okur. He really believes this is the Rookie of the Year. And,
really?
Well, one, he's going to start. And the other, that he believes he's an all-star at some point in his career. Incredibly ferocious, great competitor. Russell Westbrook mindset was said to be. So really, they're very high on this kid.
I'm going to watch him very closely because if you notice that little hitch in his jump shot, shoots it from the shoulder, something like ball for Los Angeles. You just wonder if he can get it off in traffic. So if he has that.
Did we just see the Memo airball, by the way, on tape?
Still has it, doesn't
No,
he?
he threw up an airball a minute ago.
Look at the range.
Oh, Memo for 3. Memo for 3.
But I'm going to watch him get closely. He's kind of light. We're talking about Jackson.
Yeah, not Memo.
Yeah, but he looks like he's going to be a good player. Very impressed with the first ball game that we had against him.
First step is just awesome. They really see him as a rebound and go. Memo thinks he's a point forward. In his career. There's the Memo man, the money man, right there. Bowler's jealous right now. We're seeing his guy and he's not.
Yeah.
All right, anything particular you're watching tonight?
Well, David, watching shoot around this morning and just seeing how much emphasis was put on what they're trying to do, basically just watching, see if they get better and better every game and what they're trying to get done out there on the court. Quin is so good at making adjustments during the course of the game, but he's so good in practice of getting things done. And I've always been impressed with his practice, and he does a good job at it.
All right, let's check our final questions and see if some of them just came in. Let's see what they're. I gotta get them to come up on my screen again. There we go. Do you guys see getting more minutes to Rebko or Udo? Udo will start tonight. I think Tony Bradley will get some time as well. They like Udo. He's playing great. He's having a super camp. They're trying to figure out minutes for him. He could play some. He's going to start with Derek tonight. It'll be interesting to see how he plays. Is Memo working with the Suns organization as a coach? Yes.
Yes.
He is one of their assistants, full-time assistants now. That is his job now.
And Udo, self-proclaimed best defensive player.
One of the best. Hey, there's Joe Ingles, everybody.
Best defensive player.
Say hi, Joe. That was him tapping the mic. This is what you get. It's the on-floor pregame show. It's a little different. We get a little wackiness, a lot of fun, and that's it. Favors at the 5, Udo at the 5. I don't know. I would guess Favors at the 5, and Favors at the 4, and Udo at the 5, but maybe not. We'll watch how they play it tonight. It's somewhat interchangeable. And do I think O'Neal has a similar playing style to Green? Like Draymond Green? Like the best? No, what type of Green?
No, I hope not.
No, I don't think he's anything like Draymond Green. But I do think Royce O'Neal has a really good chance to make this team, and I think he's a bona fide rotation player in the NBA if he shoots it well, and I think he's quite a find by Dennis Lindsey.
I've been very impressed with him. I know I asked you about him earlier in training camp. I've been very impressed with him. I just think he's going to be a pretty good wing player that's, just a three-point shooting league, and watching him stroke it. And what I mean by stroke it, David, when he misses, he's not far off. And that's what I try to watch when I watch guys shoot. If they're missing all over the place, you really can't put a lot of confidence in those. But I think he's going to be a high percentage three-point shooter.
All right, that wraps us up tonight. Thanks very much for tuning into the on-floor pregame show with Locke and Boone. Spence and the guys start on radio at 6:30. We'll be live with you around 6:50. And remember, Utah Jazz Radio is the podcast to get the Quin Snyder Show and the complete play-by-play. Have a good night.